Okay, this will be the first video dealing with Illustrator. This is not a professional video like you'd find on lynda.com. It's just me talking to my computer and recording it with no editing capabilities. I'll try not to ramble. I'll try to be quick and to the point so you can back up and re-watch things. But the idea is to get you caught up in any particular class where we're doing things using Illustrator. So we're going to start here with the very basics. Go down here to the bottom of the screen and we are going to click on the icon to launch Illustrator. So when the program launches, it'll either come up blank or you may have a start window. If you like the start window, you can pick what you want from the starting window, or you can just close the starting window and just go File and New, and then pick your option once this comes up. And most of the time we'll just be opening up a print-based document. So we'll probably want to stick with under the document profile, most likely want to just pick print. That'll vary, but I'll be able to let you know when that's the case. A great feature is artboards. This gives you the ability to have multiple artboards on the project. So if I just click one, I'll get one artboard. So I'll put 5 on here just so you can see what that looks like. This tells me how far apart they'll be. Right now everything's in points, so I can go right over to here and change this to inches. And so I can see my artboards will be just over 1/4 of an inch apart. Right now I'm at letter size, and I'll stick with that for the demo, but you would change that depending on what you're printing on. We can go over things like bleeds and stuff like that later on, but this is just to get you started. So I'm going to click on OK here, and now the program is going to open up, and there are all my artboards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artboards. I'm going to do a quick review here on the difference between vector-based art, which is what you draw in Illustrator, and raster-based work, which is what you do in Photoshop. I'm not going to go into much detail in Photoshop. All I'm going to do is just drag a random image that I have here on my desktop into Photoshop, and just want to show you the difference between things that are made out of pixels, which would be raster based work, or bitmap is another name for it. It just means that there's a whole bunch of pixels and they are on a map. So if I zoom in really close here, you can see that even things that are rounded, once you get up close, you can see they're nothing but a bunch of little squares put together on a bitmap. And if we go to image size inside of Photoshop, we can see how many pixels there are across, how many pixels there are high. So this has to do with how high quality this image is and how big we could print it. For example, if a printer tells us that they need 300 pixels per inch to print, which is pretty normal, I can find out how big I could print this document. So right now it's about 8 inches wide by 4.5 inches high, but that's at 72 pixels per inch. So if I change that over to 300, you can see that I can only print this at just under 2 inches wide. So I'm going to cancel out of that, but the main idea that I want you to get here is that pixels depend on the pixel base, or raster based work depends on the amount of pixels that you have there for quality. So we're going to shut up Photoshop here, and we're going to go back into Illustrator, and I'll show you how I did this in a second here. But if I create just a little box here and I make a copy of this thing and I make it much bigger, it doesn't, actually I didn't make a copy, but I will in a second here. So this versus this, almost no memory difference, and yet the quality is perfect on either one. So not at all the same problem that you run into with raster based images like in Photoshop. This is just essentially like math saying this goes this way for a certain ratio, and then this way for a certain ratio, whether it's super tiny, super big. So it's great for making logos that you can make real small, put on a business card, and then the next day take that same exact logo, stretch it out to the size that it would fit on a semi truck, and there's no loss of quality. When I show Illustrator, where I like to start with is just drawing some simple shapes. So over here we have the tools, and in a little bit I'll go into some more details on it, but it's kind of boring for you to just sit here and watch me talk about tools when it really doesn't mean anything. So I like to just jump in. I'm going to put my mouse over this box right here and hold it down, and you can see these are all the different tools that are housed here. And that's an important concept, because if the last thing you use was a star tool and you hear me say, okay, go up here and get the rectangle tool, you might think, I don't have a rectangle tool. I think I used to. Well, you just kind of have to know which tools share houses, and any of them that share have a little arrow down next to them. And any of them that have this arrow also let you do this. You can come over here to this arrow, click on it, and now this will live outside of here. So if you happen to be using square, circle, star, back and forth all the time, and you didn't want to have to come over here, click, let them fly down, and select one, that's a great option. And all you have to do when you're done with it is just click there, and it goes away. So I'm just going to take the rectangle tool, and if I draw a rectangle right now, what I get is a rectangle that is based on these colors here. So an important concept to learn is that this one that's solid is what's known as the fill color, and this one that's outlined is the stroke color. And you can flip-flop which one is the one that you're working on by clicking on it. So notice how the stroke came forward, and if I click here, the fill comes forward. So that's important when you're trying to select a color for one. The easiest way, and I'll show you some more ways as we go to select a color, is just to pick it right off the color picker. And to do that, you just double click here and it opens up this color selector. And you can just slide this up and down to get with whatever range of color you want. So I'll pick like a yellow greenish kind of color here, and this has to do with how bright the color is, how dark it is. Over this way you start to lose saturation, starts to look more grayscale. So anywhere I place the cursor in here is what color I'm going to get for the fill, because the fill was forward. And then the stroke, do the same thing. Just double click on that and I'll pick a real bright red for the stroke. Okay, so now if I draw again with this tool, I get a box or a rectangle that's filled in, and if I zoom way in on this, you'll see that it does indeed have that red stroke around it. So now let me explain a couple other things that I've been doing here all along. One thing that you need to know right away is this selection tool. So once you have something drawn, the selection tool will let you click on it. It becomes selected, and I can tell because it has the bounding box around it. So same thing here. Watch the difference. When I click on this now, it gets these boxes around it. And with something selected, I can just simply select something. I can go to these boxes. It'll let me resize them. Go to a corner, resize. I can go to the corner until the cursor becomes an arc, and I can turn it. So there's a lot of things that this comes in handy for. If I want nothing selected, then what I do is I just click somewhere in the artboard here, or just off to the scrap area, whatever you want to call that. So that's pretty much how that works. Then you have the direct selection tool. This allows you to pick, if nothing is selected here, and I watched my little smart guides that are coming up, it tells me that it's on this path, and the path means that it's between this anchor and this anchor. So anytime you're in between two anchor points, you're on a path. And if I just click on this path and I drag with the direct selection tool, it allows me to just move this path, and I can just move it up, or I can actually skew it over like that. And then the difference between clicking on a path and clicking on the anchor is this actual corner in this case, and if I click on that, I can kind of do just about anything I want. Anywhere I put this, I can kind of turn the thing inside out, bring it up here, bring it in further, change it from being a rectangle to more of a, any shape you can imagine, except in this case a curved one, but we'll get there soon enough. Now these tools do have some other purposes, and we'll get to those soon enough, but I'm just trying to cover the stuff that you're going to see me doing here for a while. Another biggie that you'll do a lot with this selection tool is draw a marquee with it, and that just means that you click and drag, and then you see this little selection area show up, and now wherever I release that, whatever is consumed inside this box is selected. So if I hit the delete key now, all of those things go away. And let me just draw a couple more real quick here. And the other thing that you've seen me use is the magnifying glass. The magnifying glass, or the zoom tool, you can also draw, and this is my favorite way to use it actually, is you can draw a marquee with it. So let's say I just want to focus on this smaller rectangle here. I can click, drag, and now when I release the mouse, that's what's going to pop into view. But you can also use it by clicking, and every time you click, you get one step bigger and bigger. You can hold down the Option key and go backwards, so now you're making it smaller. And notice that the plus, as soon as I hold down the Option key, changes to a minus. You'll very rarely see me use it that way. When I just need to go I'm more likely to hold down the Command key and hit the plus key, which is just a couple keys away from the 0 key, to the right of the 0 key, the plus key, or the Command key and the minus key. And then when I need to get something back into focus, what I use a lot is the hand tool, but I don't actually select it. I just double click on it, and it brings the current artboard that I'm working to pretty much in focus to the full size of my screen. The other way that you can use the hand tool is to actually select it, and then you can just kind of drag things around wherever you want them into view on your screen. Now, there are plenty of other tools in here, and a nice little feature is that when you hover over things, they tell you what they are. So feel free to experiment. You are not going to hurt anything by trying out the different tools in here. It's probably more appropriate for me to go through these as they become relevant to, showing you different things in here. So let's do it that way. So the next thing that we should talk about, tools, always on the left. So next thing would, and I'm sorry, not always on the left by default, but you can move this thing around. So that brings up a good point. If you accidentally move things around and you find your screen looking totally different than mine, you can always go up to Window, and you can go to, where is it here? This is what I'm looking for. It's Workspace. By default, the program comes with Essentials. So if you find yourself getting really messed up in here, you could always go to change it to something else real quick, and then go back to Workspace and change it back to Essentials, and it pretty much puts you back to the starting point, so that we're on the same page, so to speak. Let me move this over here so that you can see the panel as well. And let's see, what else was I going to mention inside of here? If you really get some things out here that you like, because there's a lot more things that you can add than just, especially when it comes to the panels. There's all kinds of panels that there just isn't room for here. So there may be some here that you never use and you just want to get rid of, and ones that you use all the time and you're tired of having to drag them out. So you can save your workspace, and the way that you do that is you again go to Window, Workspace, Save Workspace, give it a name like your first name, click OK, and then the next time you come back to this computer, that's the workspace that it'll be using. And if not, you can just go to Workspace, and as long as you're on the same computer, you can pull it. It should be one of the choices that you have here, and you can see mine's right there now. Okay. And another thing is, you'll hear me talk about these panels a lot. Like this is where the stroke panel is. It sets the thickness of the stroke. If ever I'm talking about something on the stroke panel and you do not have it, the way that you get it is under here, Windows.